Well, hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to the very first house night. So excited to have you guys here with us tonight. We want to thank the Bonhams for hosting the West Side community this week, and want to thank the Andersons for hosting the North Side. Just really excited to be able to take our community out of our church building and into living rooms and be able to do something a little bit different. So each week when we meet, we're going to have a recorded message either from me or from somebody else, giving you a few things to think about and give you some fuel to have conversations in small groups after this, or in your living room group. And for the entire year, if you haven't jumped in on it yet, we are working through this thing called Immerse. Hopefully you've had a chance to start reading this. I want to jump into a passage in here in Immerse on page 39 through 41 in Immerse. And really, it's three different stories that Jesus tells. In the context of these stories, if you look kind of towards the bottom section of text on page 39, it says, "The tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to Jesus to listen to Jesus teach. This made the Pharisees and teachers of the religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them." And so his ministry has been going on. It's been expanding. He's been having different people come to know him, come to give their lives to him, to want to follow him. And so that makes the religious leaders, it makes them upset. It makes them, he looks like, man, rabbis should not be associating with such unsavory people. A religious leader should not be interacting with people who are doing all sorts of things that shouldn't be spoken about. And Jesus just treats them like normal people. He goes to their homes, he goes to their parties, he does the things that they're doing, and they're upset. Why do you hang out with these people? Why do you, these are the people that we're trying to cure. These are the people who are the unsavory people. These are people that are on the outside. And Jesus says, well, let me tell you how I feel about the people that I hang out with. And he tells three different stories. And the first story he talks about is about a shepherd and his sheep. And for a lot of us, I don't know that I've ever actually seen a shepherd up close working with sheep. That's just something that is not super common in Johnson County, Kansas. But in this culture, they were super familiar with this, with who a shepherd was and what a shepherd did. And so in this story, he's talking about the shepherd who has lost a sheep. Now, a shepherd's entire existence really was about keeping these dumb sheep from killing themselves. Sheep would go off and they walk through the pasture, and they get caught up in the bushes and the thorn bushes and the brambles. There'd be all kinds of predators like wolves and lions that would try to, kind of pick off the sheep in the back. And so the shepherd would walk along with the sheep and would really be always looking for threats, always looking for ways to protect them, to keep them from hurting themselves. And that was the shepherd's main role. And then eventually after taking the sheep out for some exercise, they'd put them back in the sheep pen, kind of this enclosure to keep them safe from predators. And what he's talking about is once he's gotten all the sheep back, he notices that there's one missing. One of those sheep didn't make it back from the journey. And so this shepherd leaves the enclosure to go follow and find the sheep. Now, this is a huge risk because the shepherd's role in guarding the sheep in the sheep pen is really important. That shepherd would typically sit in the doorway of this enclosure, be kind of a ring, and he would sit at the doorway of that enclosure with his staff, watching for predators, even as he slept. He would be a kind of a light sleeper, and if somebody were to creep up, he'd wake up and defend the sheep. So if he's going to leave the sheep pen, if he's going to leave the multitudes, the 99 sheep, to go after one, that means he leaves the rest of them vulnerable. But basically what Jesus is saying is that this shepherd loves each one of those sheep individually so much that he would be willing to sacrifice everything for one. For one, that each sheep is valuable, is precious to the shepherd. And so that's kind of his first story. He says that Rejoice with me because I have found my lost sheep. In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. It doesn't mean that it isn't important to God to have you living a life that pleases Him. It doesn't mean that God doesn't get excited about when we live lives submitted to Him. He just says, but all the more is the rejoicing of one sheep who returns, one sheep that is found. And so Jesus is giving this picture of God who pursues us, who knows that we're prone to kind of get into trouble and to do dumb things, but that His love for us does not change, so He continues to seek after us. In the same way, He tells another story. He tells a story about this woman who has lost a single coin. And I don't know if you've ever lost something before, but it drives you crazy. You're looking around the house. You're throwing up the couch cushions. You're tipping over the furniture. You're looking underneath your bed at all the nasty, gross dust bunnies, trying to find whatever you've lost, and it can drive you crazy. And it's like that's the God's heart for us when we are walking away from Him, is that He gets so worked up to bring us back. To bring us back close into a relationship with Him, that He will do whatever. And then the coolest thing about this story is that, and when she finds it, she will call in her friends and neighbors and say, rejoice with me because I have found my lost coin. In the same way, there is joy in the presence of God's angels when even one sinner repents. And basically what he's saying is that when you turn to Jesus, there's a party. That God's like, yes, you're back. You are back. I missed you, and I'm so excited to have you back. And so there's just this excitement. There's this excitement that God gets so excited when we return to Him, when we respond to Him reaching out to us. He just is overjoyed, and it can't contain His excitement about you. I think so often, and this is the way I am a lot, is that when I know that I'm doing something that doesn't please God, when I know that I'm kind of straying away from God's ideal for my life, I tend to hide out. Even though I know that God is everywhere and He knows what's going on, I kind of try to I don't really want to pray right now. I don't really want to get close to God. I kind of want to pretend that God's just over there somewhere. And God's like, my heart is for you. And when you return to me, I just get so excited. I celebrate. And so that's the second picture. You got a shepherd that will go and risk everything to get the sheep. You have this woman who will turn over everything to find this lost coin and then throws a party when she finds it. And then the last story is, one of my favorites in all Scripture. And it goes like this. That there's a son. There's two sons, actually. And one of the sons, one day, goes to his dad and says, Father, I want my inheritance. And the only time you get an inheritance from a parent is when your parent is dead. And so basically saying, Dad, I don't want to wait till you die. So I really wish you were dead so that I could have your money right now. And the listeners, the original audience of this parable would have been outraged, completely outraged that the son would ever ask something of his father, like, what? Like, you want me to be dead? Like, no, you will not get my inheritance. But instead, the father agrees to this crazy request. The father agrees and gives him his money, and then all the more just turning the knife into this father is that the son takes it, and it isn't before long where he blows all the money, and he is poor and destitute. And as the audience hears the story, they're thinking, well, good. Serves you right. You are so ungrateful. You are so unloving. You hate your father, and now you're getting what you deserve. But, that's not how Jesus works. And as the son realizes, man, I'd have a better life after he's destitute. I'd have a better life if I go back to the father. And even if I was a servant in the father's quarters, so he goes back. And this is the moment we see the heart of God, because as the son is far away, the father does something that's just unprecedented, and it's that the father jumps off the porch and runs with open arms and gives the son a bear hug and throws another party. This is a theme that's going on here. Well, again, Jesus' audience would have been outraged because, first of all, the son did this horrible thing, and the second of all, the father was completely undignified. He has to, first of all, men in that culture do not run. And so he hikes up his robe, which, by the way, men in this culture don't wear underwear. So he hikes up his robe, showing the world who knows what. And probably some people are saying, man, I didn't need to see that today. But he does not care, because all he does is care about his son. So he runs with open arms and says, come back, come home. I am overjoyed. You were lost and now you are found. And you have the older son that's like, wait a minute. What about me? I've been here. I've been doing the right things all the time. And again, he's saying, yes, I love you. My love has never changed for you. But this son is gone and is now back. So that's God's heart for you. God's heart for you is a heart of patience. God knows you're going to make mistakes. God knows that you're going to go off and do your own things. God knows that we're dumb like sheep. God knows that we can be like that lost son who goes off and just totally wastes life doing things that aren't good for us, and move our story back a few steps. But God's heart for us never changes. He's always there with open arms. He is always there to welcome us back. He's always there to embrace us. So we're left with this question after we have these three stories that are posed by Jesus. You see that he looks at each one of you the same way, no matter what your past is, no matter what your story is, no matter how much you know or how much you don't know, or what you've done or what you haven't done. His posture is that he loves you. He loves you with this amazing, incredible, unshakable love. And so that's what you're going to have an opportunity to discuss tonight in the living room there, is to think about, what is God really like? And how does God really feel about you? Right where you're at tonight, knowing everything about who you are, what you've done, what you haven't done, what you did last night on Saturday night or Friday night or with your friends or offline or online or whatever, that God knows all that stuff and still loves you the same. He has this incredible heart of compassion for you. So take some time to talk about that in your groups tonight. And I pray that through this conversation you get this beautiful picture of a father that is deeply in love with you and pursues you with everything that he has.